I guess I was an enormously geeky kid, and I always would try to find out how something worked. And when I became a cook, I simply applied the same approach to food. If there's any opportunity to discover the process or to play with the process, then you learn as you do it. I think that's the most important thing about DIY food, is getting your hands dirty, getting into it, and then learning as you do so. So today, we're going to cook a clambake, but not on a beach, in a wheelbarrow. The ingredients are over here in the shed. You need a wheelbarrow and a couple of bags of sand from the builder's merchant, some rocks, some sacking, some seafood. This would have traditionally been done in a hole in the ground, hole in the sand on a beach. But it's obviously easier for us to deal with it in a wheelbarrow. So the first thing we're going to do is make a hole in the sand. It needs to have enough of a layer to retain warmth and to protect the bottom of the barrow, but not much more than that. There we go. And the sacks, which we're going to use later, come from the local coffee shop, the local independent coffee shop, where I'm sure they're getting sacks of beans in. It's really difficult to get Hessian sacks these days, surprisingly, but there you go. Okay, there's my little layer of rocks. That's going to retain the heat. So the next thing we need is hot charcoal. 3 things you need for lighting barbecue. One of them is a barbecue chimney, which really improves the lighting process. Pretty much surefire every time. Second thing you need is a pink national broadsheet, absolutely vital, except no substitute. Screw that into a ball, shove it up underneath like that. And finally, you can muck around with matches all you like, but nothing beats one of those. You want to keep backing it up and let a good amount of heat build up. Really heat those rocks. Maybe an hour or so. It seems absurd to be cooking in a wheelbarrow full of builder's material. But actually what you're doing is you're understanding the whole history of the way we have cooked and interacted with food. I'm just wetting down the sacks. They'll seal everything in, create the steam and create the jacket that keeps the steam inside. Okay, so I'm raking out the coals to form a flat bed. And on top of that, I'm going to put a bag of seaweed, a thick layer of seaweed. Into that, in the centre of it go the crustacea. If you've got big crustacea, I've got a lobster here and a crab. Both of those are ready to go. Put those in, nestle them into the seaweed, and then pour around them small stuff, mussels, clams in this case, both of them. Once those are in place, another layer of seaweed over the top of that, and another wet sack. And finally pour the sand over the top. What you're doing is you've built pretty much an airtight, vapor-proof layer in there in which everything's going to steam, and we're trying to get it up to around 75, 80 and hold it there for a little while. What really pleases me is the idea that although I do this in a tiny little wheelbarrow here, there are places on the northeast coast of the States where they dig great holes in the beach with backhoes and do tons of seafood at once. The smell coming off this is absolutely fantastic. It smells of the sea, it's lovely. So the lobster's good and pink. That's looking in pretty good shape. The mussels and clams have opened up. There's something about that wet seaweed and the steam it produces. It just enhances the taste of the sea. Wonderful. Crab, he's looking good. So after that, the only thing you're going to need is some way of getting inside them and some melted butter. Just cut up the underside. With a crunch, there is the most beautiful piece of lobster tail. This is obviously not the sort of thing you do every day, but that's not the point. It's about doing it just once, twice maybe as an experiment, and it helps you to re-engage with eating and cooking, and that in itself is the great value.